Yeah, you can go ahead now.
I would make a comment that when she talked about Virginia paying for her to go to school, I don't think she mentions that she went to New York and got her master's at Columbia.
University. And Prince William, not Prince William, Virginia paid for it.
So you went to
I couldn't attend schools here in Virginia. So they paid my way to New York,
to Columbia.
to Columbia.
Were
I
you in
got my
segregated
No,
dormitories?
No,
No. They treated you equally there,
that's why I went there.
and you got your master's there. That's amazing.
And there were others of us who did the same thing from other southern places.
Now, was your master's before you integrated the school at Fred Lynn?
Uh-huh.
So as an African American teacher in a colored school, they sent you to get your master's, the state of Virginia.
Yeah.
But the other item I wanted to bring is that Prince William County Schools does not, it's very infrequent for them to name a school after a person that is
Still
not.
living.
That was our big joke. And so when we brought the name up, they were shocked. But the irony is that Herb Saunders and her are two of the very few people, the person who selected her, to have a school named after them while they were still alive. Herb Saunders, there's a Herb Saunders Middle, and you remember he was alive. But part of the regulation talks about historical significance. And so we worked on the historical significance of her contribution, and that's when the full story came out. And to take that long, 40 years, this lady, for the story to just come out after that period of time is interesting to me. I think it's very interesting.
You were also a superintendent, or you worked supervisor.
First black.
You were the first black supervisor in Prince William County Schools. What did you do as a supervisor?
I went to help teachers. And they got a lot of help. And they were
But she
reading,
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Fannie.
the reading groups and things like that. And teachers didn't know. Some of them did not know how to do that. So I helped them. And I think that was one of my main things.
Yeah. And you wanted to leave because you wanted to be with your family.
That's right.
So after that position, you left the county and you were with your family?
No,
She
I
taught?
She didn't want to be at
Okay.
central office. She wanted to go back to the classroom.
Okay.
To be with her, so she could be with her family.
So I integrated the school system as a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
black teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there were 4 of us.
Right.
There were 4.
There were
Right.
4 of us.
There were 4.
That they sent to different schools.
Right.
One of the things that I wanted to say of Fannie's humble beginnings, Fannie's mother passed away when you were, 11 years old? And so she was pretty much raised by her oldest sister in Richmond. And that's how she migrated to Richmond as a young child. And
Okay.
No, there's one little thing that's wrong. She was living in New York.
okay.
And when Mama died, she came home to take care of me. And in the meantime, she found herself a man. And got married. I thought that was big fun. But anyway, Roberta was she was some gal.
I think also we need to mention after Mrs. Fitzgerald retired, she continued to work in the school system. She and her husband used to go back for Black History Month and tell their story growing up in the segregated school system. And she also recites poetry very well.
Used to.
So you knew the importance of oratory, huh?
Oh, she's an orator.
Oh, yes.
Did you ever write poetry?
No, I didn't. No. But I got that from my older sister. And I think you all heard her.
Yes, Martha.
Martha. She had really learned all of these poems. She dramatized it. I can say
Fannie, do you remember any of the poems? Any of them?
No, not really. I had some, and in moving, they got missing.
Yeah, there was one you did at church.
Yeah.
There's one she always did very well. What was the name?
Do you remember any of that?
I remember doing it, yeah, but I don't know where the things are. It just kept moving.
Yeah, because you kept moving around. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's quite an orator.
So not only were you an educator, but outside of that, you were also in the community creating organizations like Wicca and Links, and being very involved in supporting other groups to help children. So what do you think was one of the most important things that you taught children? Was it respect, integrity, reading, writing? What do you think
All
some of
of
the
them.
things?
All of them. I can't say one more better than others. But I love doing it.
So after that first year of teaching, is that when Prince William sent black children to your school?
Now the first teaching I did in my county, Amelia County, Virginia.
Right.
And in Amelia, they had everything segregated.
Mm-hmm.
Black schools, white schools. And I went to an elementary school, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th grade in one room, and that's what I wanted. Because that's how I had been taught,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so I knew what to do. And so that's where my teaching started, and I continued and found out I could get a master's degree from the county, from the state. And they paid my way too.
And then after that first year of teaching in Fred Lynn, did they then send black students to you too after that?
Oh, yeah.
They integrated with students.
Integrated the school system.
And how did that go? Were there any problems?
No, none. She was involved too.
Not that involved, but Prince William is known for how smooth the integration process went, and Herb Saunders is given credit for that, for having the idea of making us a soft transition by integrating with the teachers first and then following it with students. So there was not, is noted for saying that they never had any mass demonstrations here, and they never had the National Guard like in other parts of Virginia and other parts of the, like down in Farmsville, Virginia. Yeah, and I don't know, Fannie, do you remember about Farmsville where those kids were not allowed to go to school?
Yes, they were not allowed. That was right by Amelia County.
Mm-hmm.
And they missed much of their classes.
Did you know any of those children that missed? No.
Just read it in the books, in the paper.
But were you still teaching even though those kids
I
were?
was teaching, but not there.
Mhm.
See, I wasn't-
Were you in Prince William County?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Prince William County never stopped sending kids to school.
Yeah. They had learned from what had happened with the massive resistance of those 5 years. It's like huge numbers of African American kids were not allowed to go to school for 5 years. And they had the marches and they had the, all these things on national television. And so they wanted to avoid that. So they integrated with the teachers first. And that made it, and it worked.
See, in the Farmville area, they closed all the public schools.
That's right.
They closed and opened academies for the white kids.
They did.
And
Yeah.
the black kids had no way of the money and so forth to do the same. So some of them were sent away to live with relatives.
Mhm.
Some of them, certain percentage of them just did not go to school at all.
There are lawsuits.
And then when
with-
President Kennedy
Yeah.
opened up the school system, was instrumental in opening up the school system again, that brought back the public schools in Farmville.
Mhm.
But there was no public school there at all.
Yeah. And Prince William just didn't want that kind of publicity. And so I guess Mr. Saunders was the genius behind the entire
He was
thing.
a wonderful person. He really was.
Mhm.
But most of the school systems in the northern part of the state had no major uproars about integration. You know, Fairfax, Loudon, Prince William.
They
None
didn't
of those
block the
school
doors.
systems really didn't. They didn't close the school system, of course.
Or block
but
the
there,
doors,
yeah,
yeah.
but there were no real uproars when integration happened.
I think that's the only county that really had a lot of problems.
Who?
The Prince, the county that closed the schools.
Anything else?
That was the major.
Right.
Well, Ms. Fitzgerald, I want to thank you on behalf of Congressman Gerald Connolly, who has sponsored this project, which is the Civil Rights Archival Project. And what that means is that your oral history, along with others that were courageous during this time period, will be handed over to the Library of Congress. So scholars like myself and historians and teachers and educators and people who just want to know will be able to hear your story that you weren't able to tell for over 40 years. But guess what? You've told it now.